season. He literally got the best out of the guy.
I hear that. I want to say one thing about what you said there, Staffy, which I think is really important for Arsenal fans to think about. Is, as you say, we've got people in the comments, you know, that said when I was saying about the scary stuff, oh, Terry, just admit you were wrong. What was I wrong about? In terms of the scary thing, you don't need to think they're scary. It was never a thing that you had to. And of course, I had a bit of fun with it when I saw. And I'll stand by a lot of the shows I did. And of course, some of the shows we do are, they're a little bit comedic. There's a little bit of satire. There's a bit of sarcasm. All of us YouTubers do it. And I'd see people ranting and raving when Arsenal were on good runs, and I'd be like, well, you are fearful, because you wouldn't be ranting and raving if you had no, I'm not ranting and raving about Nottingham Forest having a good season, because I don't actually think in the medium to long term they were a threat to me. So that's an example. But what you said there, Staffy, I think is really key. There are people now, and I was on Twitter last night, just reading and just digesting it, and I told everybody 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, how bad this football was or how bad this manager is. It's like, yeah, but you got a lot wrong as well. I've said it for about 4 months now. The Arteta in and Arteta out debate is dead. I've seen the TPFs, the toxic positivity fans, 3 years running predicting they're winning the league, they're winning Champions Leagues, etc., etc. They've got that wrong. But what they were right about is that the team would progress, become title challengers, and they did play good football. You've got the opposite side to that, who made a big statement he'll never win a major trophy. That was debunked within 6 months because he won the FA Cup. Then they went on to he'll never win another one, which so far they're right on. But they also stated he wouldn't make top four. He'd never make a title challenge. He wouldn't be able to challenge 2 years running as an example. So if I'm being honest with you, that conversation I feel is dead and is boring. Simply because all of us, plus Gooners, of course, we've got elements of those predictions and opinions right, and we've all got elements of those predictions wrong. What the conversation has to be now is what's right moving forward for Arsenal. That, for me, is where I want to focus the energy, because we could all sit here and have a penis measuring competition and get out, oh, I got this one right. Oh, do you remember that video I made on that date? That was correct. And, oh, yeah, Terry, got that one wrong. We've all got it, and I can hold my hands up. And, and I'm admitted a big mistake of mine. Is it an opinion? I wouldn't call it a mistake. I really thought in the summer that Martinelli would get back to the levels of 2 seasons ago, because I really was excited about watching him as a player. He hasn't done it. I got it wrong about Trossard. I really thought Trossard would be delivering more. I can hold my hands up and admit I've got that wrong. Great. That's now been said. Laugh in the comments. But now let's actually have a grown-up conversation about what moves Arsenal forward. And I think what you said there about
new manager.
You guys all think new manager.
New manager. If he doesn't win the league or the Champions League this season, new manager for me, new voice.
Let me just say one thing more. Look, I agree completely with what Staffy said regarding the forward line. I don't think it's a matter of just bring Nico Williams in and bring Jokers in and they will start winning. I was one of the people that actually backed Arteta. I said that Arsenal are going to win the league this season. I said that Arsenal are going to do really well this season, but I was shocked to see that he reverted to the old styles and the old ways, which didn't work to begin with. I think they need a new voice now. I think it's much bigger than just signing players, because the forward line wasn't spoken about as a whole before the season started. A lot of people didn't address it as a whole. And then as soon as the season starts and they have a couple of bad results, it's all of a sudden a whole. I don't like that. I looked at Arsenal this season and I thought they were more than capable of winning the league. Way more than capable of with their current team, current squad, actually winning the league, actually delivering. But they're incapable of delivering. And I do agree with Staffy. I look at the forward line and I think there's an issue there, like in terms of player improvement, in terms of like them cooking, in terms of them developing an understanding, in terms of them playing well together, in terms of the interchangeability. I mean, there's one thing that many people don't talk about. They have quite an interchangeable front three, because none of them is really a striker. None of them is really a winger, if you would like, maybe besides Saka. Everyone else, like, they could interchange, but he's never really used that. He hasn't had like a game, and I said this to Igal as well. Again, I'm going to reference Igal here, because Igal felt like Arsenal were robbed against Brighton. And I made this statement to Igal. I said, listen, if you hit the post 2 or 3 times going forward and you attacked unbelievably well and you created chance after chance after chance after chance and you were cooking, but that decision was the only reason why Brighton equalized, I'd get it. But Brighton were building up momentum. And I have an unpopular opinion. I think even if they didn't give that penalty, Brighton would have gotten something out of that game, because they deserved to get something out of that game, because they were the one on the front foot Absolutely. And yesterday at 0-0, one of the guys, I don't do none of this XG stuff because I don't have any of these apps. One of the guys who uses the apps heavily sent it to me. Newcastle had more XG from open play. The 1.2 XG Arsenal had was from set pieces. Now, having set pieces as a weapon is very important. Of course, 100% we all agree. Set pieces is a dangerous weapon. And if you win every single game from now to the end of the season 1-0 with one set piece, no one's complaining. We all know that. However, it can't be your main weapon. Like, you need to have another solution if that thing isn't working, if you would like. And I think this is where Arteta has a problem. Arteta has a problem with the team going forward, if you would like. That's where I think his biggest issue is. So you could replace players, but I don't think he would give them the system to operate that they could cook him. Which is why when I'm giving replacements, some people say Inzaghi. By the way, just so everyone knows, Inzaghi won't work at Arsenal. Inzaghi will not work at Arsenal. Some people are giving names like that, Simeone. I think they need an offensive thinking manager. I think they need someone who could just release the shackles. And I guess from an Arsenal perspective, the thing that should irritate a lot of Arsenal fans is they did release the shackles against Crystal Palace and against Sporting and against West Ham and against Nottingham Forest. But all of a sudden, they put the shackles back on again at Brighton for no reason whatsoever. You're 1-0 up against Brighton. They're rattled. Try to score the second. Try to score the third. Ice the game off. So even if you do get a penalty decision and go against you, it's okay because you're on the front foot. But Arsenal haven't done that this season. Arsenal have not done that this season. Like, I'll give you an example. We drew to Fulham at home. Liverpool 2, Fulham 2. The reason why I, quote unquote, didn't get cooked and people didn't destroy what I was saying about, because Liverpool were on the front foot, because Liverpool could have won that game 3-2 even with 10 men. We showed ambition. We showed the ability that we want to win, that we are going for the kill, And by the way, that's how we conceded goals against Man United. Like, we were going forward, Trent loses the ball, we concede goals, but we're trying to attack. That's why, the only one time that I remember I ranted about referees like crazy was the Spurs game. Because in that game, I had, in my opinion, 2 players wrongfully sent off and a completely onside goal given as offside. That, okay, rant about it if you have something as bad as that, I get it. But when you're on the back foot and you're getting cooked by Brighton, you want to come up here and tell me you're robbed?
Sam,
No,
it's
you're not
simple,
robbed.
Sam. Listen, it's very simple. In year 5, you're not looking convincing. We can all disagree and agree on the reasons why, but there's no one. I don't care if you're Arteta in or out. There's no way you can watch this Arsenal team this season and be convinced that's the level we should be at in year 5. That's the level we should be at in your supposedly the 3rd year of competing for the league, because you competed 2 years in a row. It should have been a step up season. And not only did you stay stagnant, you actually took a step backwards. So we could sit here and talk about the reasons, but you should as an Arsenal fan, if you really do want to, and I'm really not doing the Arsenal hate thing, because I don't like when people say, "Oh, you hate Arsenal, shut up." I've been trying to be as objective as possible talking about it. You cannot watch this team and you can be happy all season. You pretended that you enjoyed its set pieces. You lied. You didn't. Because look at it now. You're all crashing out right now, and you're saying it's not good enough. And the results are showing. I think, as Mo said, Sam said, I think it's time for a change. I don't think Arteta's a bad manager. It is time for new ideas. It is time for someone to take over this team before this team regresses. And this is very key, because I remember Igal used to say for a couple years now, he would only get rid of Arteta if he sees regression. And that's the biggest mistake big clubs can do. Big clubs know when to move on before they see significant regression, because you still want to be able to maintain a good team with a good mentality and a good momentum and everything. And maybe, just maybe, if it becomes stagnant and you run out of ideas, it's time to give someone else a chance. And I think Arteta's had more than enough chance to win something major for this club, even something minor, and he hasn't won enough. I'm not gonna, as I said, disrespect the job that he's done. I think he's done a decent job, but he hasn't won over the line. And it's time to give someone else a chance. Whether it's Areola or a bigger name manager, I don't care who it is.
Since I saw the thumbnail of this, I want to ask a question. So Terry had Isak on the thumbnail, and I'm sure that Isak is linked to Arsenal today. They say he's the main target. If Arsenal keep Arteta, if Arsenal don't win the league or the Champions League, and Newcastle make Champions League football next season, and they keep Bruno Guimaraes, and they keep Tonali, and they keep these guys, would Isak, if Arteta stays at Arsenal, would Isak leave Newcastle to go to Arsenal?
I don't think he should.
And that is, you know what? I kept asking myself, I don't know the answer to this. If Arsenal do win this season, do we believe they're going to be better than Newcastle next season, for example? Because if both teams play Champions League, is there going to be an improvement on Arsenal?
Well, how big of a step is it to go from Newcastle right now to Arsenal?
It's a massive step. It's a massive step.
I don't agree. In club
there is a massive gap between the two clubs in terms of the number of trophies, that the legend. Like, I'm sorry.
See what you just said? I said I agree in terms of history, of course.
Yes,
Arsenal are a much bigger club in history. I'm talking about the where they are right now as clubs. Because if I'm Isak, I don't
massive difference. Newcastle finished 10th last season, Staffy, 10th. Arsenal finished 2nd with 2 points behind.
That's last season. I'm talking about right now, Mo. So here's the thing, Isak. I generally think right now, Isak in the league, it's him and Haaland. They're the best two, in my opinion. In the world, I think if you make a list of top 5, I think Isak is there. The way I saw him yesterday, pick up the ball, release the ball, ask for the ball, take a shot, and that shot led to a goal by a deflection. That's just, bro, he really does give me that aura of a top striker. I think he's at that level yet. Now, I don't mean this in any disrespect. I'd probably say the same thing about United right now, where we are, if we were linked with Isak, even though we're much worse than Arsenal. I'm looking at him right now. I honestly don't know why people think. I heard Arsenal fans say he's arguably the best striker in the world right now. Why would the best striker in the world go to Arsenal right now? Generally, why would he? If I'm him, I can generally get a move back to Real Madrid in any moment. I'm not saying they will come in for him, but that's the level that
No. Don't give me a third option. Don't give me a third option. The two options is Newcastle play Champions League next season, Arsenal play Champions League next season. Would you stay at Newcastle or you move to Arsenal? Don't give me Real Madrid. That's a different story.
But why do I have to limit him to 2 options?
That's the whole argument, Staffy. The whole argument is to have. If Arsenal go for Isak next season,
it's a bigger argument.
I agree. Listen, if it's
leaves this summer.
If you're throwing Real Madrid into the mix, then he's picking Real Madrid, right?
I think that's the level he could get, Terry.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay, but then we got this is where I think we need to be not objective, but we need to frame the question. We need to frame the question correctly, and then the answer has to be based on the question and not outside agents. So if every club's bidding for him, yeah, he goes Real Madrid. So, but let's create. What's the actual question, though?
It's if he's between Arsenal next season, Newcastle play Champions League, Arsenal stay with Arteta, so no new voice, and Arsenal bid for him. Should he go to Arsenal?
I don't think he should.
See,
no, but the reason why I think this is like a silly question is because we do this every summer. At the end of the day, every player in the universe right now, sorry, Flossie, every player in the universe right now would rather play for Arsenal than he would Newcastle.
That is the question that I'm asking.
Okay, let's be honest here, guys. Let's be honest. Let's have honest. Why the fuck is it changing colors? Let's have honest conversations. Okay. When it comes to football players, I get it. People want to give all these shit hypotheticals regarding like, oh, what if they both have Champions League football? Okay, Steaua Bucharest have Champions League football. Like I don't like this whole like have Champions League football stuff. So if you're in Isak's place, you're going to Arsenal. Right. But I think there's a bigger question here that no one's bringing to the table, which is Saliba leaving this summer, because I think Saliba is the one that's going to Real Madrid. Speaking of Real Madrid, and that's gonna be kind of the start of like this whole Arsenal need a new rebuild thing. So good luck, mate.
Yeah, so just park Saliba for a moment then. Look, I understand your question and your perspective, Staffy. I think that Newcastle are a team on the up and up. They're a team that's on their way to really good things. Because of PSR, though, I still think it's when the Saudis first came in, most level-headed Geordies said it's a 10-year project until we're ready to win leagues. It's going to take them a long time to raise their income. Isak's got a decision to make. What I won't do to Arsenal is sort of discount their heritage, their name, and the pool that comes with that. They are a very, very big team. And them having some poor football right here, right now, I don't think it's something that deters professionals. And I'm only keeping the same energy because over the last 10 years, the ups and downs of Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, and other teams, we all get thrown at us. How are you going to attract a player when you're not at the peak of your powers? And all the top clubs seem to be able to do that. But I do think it's a big decision for him.
Case in point, Chelsea.
Yeah, a year ago, you'd have said, of course, go Arsenal. They were a point or two away from winning the league, and Newcastle were 10th. This season, you could make an argument for the other way around. But I think we have to see how the season ends. It's a hard question to answer because my gut still says Arsenal, and I'm probably basing that on history and heritage more than anything else. But say by the end of the season, that Newcastle are on an amazing run right now. Let us not forget, 8 games ago, a lot of their fans were calling for Eddie Howe to be sacked. They were in awful form,
And they were 11th.
and they were 11th
I'm
in
not
the league.
dismissing that.
But the reason I say this is, in another 10, 15 games time, let's say they finish 8th in the league, lose the Carabao Cup final, that they make it there, and Arsenal come second and do okay in the Champions League, and maybe they win the FA Cup, it would change again. And I think it's one of those things. I mean, imagine Arsenal, just to throw this level thinking into the question, imagine Arsenal go to St. James's Park and win 3-0. Does that change his decision? I think what Isak has to do is not base it on the short-term results of Newcastle or Arsenal. He has to envisage which club is going to be competing for titles and able to win Champions Leagues in the next 4 to 5 years of his career. And that's more the question for me. And at the moment, I understand Newcastle have got this really good trajectory. I'm not sure if they're going to be there because they're probably going to lose Bruno Guimaraes as well. Like, I still think
stop on that point.